Quite often people, especially kids, get discouraged about fishing because they aren't very successful. I think that's because people will oftentimes overcomplicate the sport with expensive equipment and unnecessary bait. I think people often imitate techniques for specific species like trophy bass in the wrong location. If your goal is to just go have some fun with the kids and successfully catch some fish, it's not that difficult to talk brim and panfish like bluegill and perch out of the rocks and other cover. The kids have fun, and every once in a while they'll connect with a big old bass or crappie. In this video, I'll show you from start to finish everything you need to know on how to successfully catch fish with the kids without spending a lot of money. You shouldn't have to spend more than $15, at least where I live, in order to have all the supplies you need in order to be successful with this technique. A common mistake that a lot of people make is using a hook that's too large. All this will do is cause you frustration, as these little thieving fish will eat the worm off the hook like corn on the cob without ever being able to fit everything in their mouth. Pick up a pack of size 6 or size 8 hooks for less than $2. You'll need a few sinkers, nothing too big. Don't let it feel like you're trying to tie an anvil onto the line, just big enough to help the kids cast the bait out far enough to their satisfaction. A pack of regular split shots for less than $1 will be sufficient. The rod and reel can be purchased inexpensive as well. It doesn't take anything fancy. We picked up this combo for about $8. The telescopic pole is handy and packs easy. I don't like hauling around a lot of supplies to lose. For the bait, there's nothing fancy here either. You don't need any Rapala crankbaits or anything like that. In fact, you don't have to buy anything at all. Just start turning over some leaves or dig a little and you'll find yourself some worms and crickets. These work great. To tie your hook, run the line through the eye of the fish hook. Then twist the fish hook a complete 7 or 8 times. Then take the line and run it back through the first loop. Then take the line back up through the new loop you just created and cinch it all down really tight. Another thing that's important is where you place the sinkers on the line. You don't want them right next to the hook. Put them about 18 to 24 inches away from where the hook is. To put the worm on the hook, start about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch down from the end of the worm and thread the entire worm onto the hook so that the hook is completely covered. Crickets are a little more delicate than the worms. The kids will sometimes throw the cricket right off the hook if they're not put on there properly. The best way I found to do this is by starting to insert the hook through the hard shell on the back of the cricket. Then bring the hook back up through the bottom side of the cricket once it's gone through the other side. Finding the right spot to fish isn't difficult either. Panfish, sunfish, brim, whatever you call them in your area, like a little bit of cover. This can be a rocky bank, a dock with some shrubbery or brush, or even a log. You don't have to fish right in all this mess where you're likely to get snagged. That'll just frustrate you as well. Just present your bait close to it, and they will dart out or follow your bait for a while before they strike. If you haven't caught anything in about 10 to 15 minutes, or if the fish have stopped biting, move somewhere else. You might come back to the spot later. I've been told that fish only have a memory of about 8 seconds. The way you present your bait is important. The panfish usually strike whenever the movement of your bait begins or ends. Let your kid cast their bait out nearby the cover and reel in the slack. Then, every 5 to 10 seconds, slowly move your pole over to the side. Reel the slack back in and let it sit for another 5 to 10 seconds. Repeat until they bring it all the way in. The fish is usually going to strike whenever you begin to move your pole or right as you stop. Alright, now bring it slowly to the side to move it along the bottom. Reel your slack back in. Let it sit for another 5 to 10 seconds. Slowly to the side. As you point your pole back to it, reel the slack in because they might strike sometimes. You don't want to let slack in your line. You let it sit for a little bit, about 5 to 10 seconds in between, and you slowly pull it towards the side. You don't want sudden movements. Oh, looky there. She got one. I don't know. Look at that. That was fast. We're just trying to show how to present the bait, weren't we?
I don't want to take it out of that one.
Fishing is supposed to be fun, so let it be fun. Don't pressure the kids. If they want to stop and take a break and look at some ducks or play with some sort of critter that they found, let them. How many casts did it take you?
1.
Good job. You know what you got there?
No, don't really.
That's a little bass.
Cool.
He liked that cricket, didn't he?
Yeah. It's my 3rd one.
A little bass. All right.
3.
We went fishing by a spot that had a little swimming hole designated. The kids would stop and they'd go swim every once in a while and come back. I'd say while they were fishing, they were catching a fish about every 60 seconds or so amongst the 3 of them. Have fun.